must meditate, and otherwise she meditates and you ask her how she feels and then you tell me.
Good.
I must get some information. She must meditate and I should get information how she feels.
And how I should meditate twice a day?
2, 3 times, 4 times.
A day.
When you have time, as long as I am here, you should meditate more and tell me.
Good. Awesome.
You asked me to report to you. Do you want to see me again?
How long?
Well, I meditated about 3 times today. You asked me to report to you. There hasn't been any change, so...
But you look much better. You feel more energetic?
Well, I was relaxed when I came, but I put myself in that position.
I think tomorrow meditate a little longer. Little longer and tell me. 2, 3 times. Oh, you are retired, just carry on.
Did you say you want someone who speaks a different language?
Yes. What languages you speak?
Yiddish? Jewish?
Jewish. Very good. America is full of Jews. We want this.
So what do you want me to do?
Come tomorrow, I'll tell you to translate.
Okay.
You translate 1 page and meditate half an hour.
Right.
Translate 1 page and meditate half an hour. Okay. Hello.
I just want to give you a suggestion. You will be just not too long here in Los Angeles. It would be a nice thing if you will see a marine land.
What land?
Marine land. It's a big aquarium. It's the biggest one in the world.
What it is?
Aquarium. Aquarium fishes.
Oh, they store fishes?
They're live fishes, just like a zoo for the animals, but it's for fishes. But they're really interesting. It's really something to see. And at the same time, I will be able... Yes. At the same time, I will be able to make more movie pictures.
Oh.
Right there. And this is really something to see. Wonderful.
Then make some day.
Suppose I will suggest it someday which is not so busy for you. Any day during the week and morning will be better because there will be less people there.
Then tell them not to take appointments any day. But you are working in the morning?
I can take in the morning, sure.
Then
half a day.
Half a day.
They will take a half a day.
Then see what page is vacant.
All right.
Then put your name and say engage.
Engage the whole morning.
Engage the whole morning.
Half a day, okay.
That day ask them to take engagements after 4 o'clock.
Wonderful. We'll do. Thank you very much.
Sonia is going to translate in French and Russian.
Who?
Before 5. And then we have to go all the way home. I could come at that time. She could be there for a little while.
Oh, you mean before you go to home and from home come? Then from the work you come? What time?
I pick her up at 4:45. We could be there by 5 o'clock.
Then come at 5. And put your name there at 5. See what is engagement.
See if what?
See how there at 5.
All right.
And
if you're busy at 5, we can come later.
no, between 5 and 5:30.
All right.
Even if there are some people, doesn't matter.
You won't be staying late because this is very drafty and chilly. Are you going to stay late? If you are, bring them back to the house.
We'll go.
I'll have to doctor you more, you know.
No, this was nothing of that. I think it was...
Take 1 second. I'm sending my forelady for an interview tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
And then
She's the one who will make she's going to make your shawl for you. She's a very, very fine woman. I don't think she has any knowledge of India. I think she's been reared Catholic.
very good. Catholics are good heart. They
Yes,
are good
well, she's a good person. She'll be in to see you at 10 o'clock, and then you decide then if you want to initiate her right away.
I initiate her day after tomorrow.
You initiate whatever you want to. You tell her. And I told her she could take time off to see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I made the appointment for her.
Fine, good. 10 o'clock she's coming?
10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I'll send her back soon. I'll call her day after tomorrow for initiation.
Just explain so she understands what she's doing.
Have you told her something?
Up till now, she's taking my word for it, I think.
But you must have told her quite a lot.
Not too much.
Not too much.
No, I don't tell people very much.
I'll explain. Four of them are coming?
No, she's my forelady.
The boss of the factory.
She's the boss of my factory.
Oh, she must be initiated. Get all those people.
No. I'll bring her, then I'll let the others.
Then everything
And then she will bring her this.
She said I ought to bring Vashti and get the Om out.
Marvin, then you can start the system of meditating in the shop. Everybody meditates
Then nobody will work.
10 minutes every day would be wonderful, yes?
Takes me 40 minutes to get over the hill.
I see the column. A very nice letter, typewritten, very sweet. I'll bring it to you. I don't think you want to read it.
Her brother might have done it for
Oh,
her.
her brother. Oh, I was very happy when I got it. Maharishi, do you think the Gurudev is happy with that arrangement?
Oh, it's very good.
It is good? Oh, I'm good.
Very nice.
I'm happy then. All right.
It is.
So I have two translators. I have Polish and I think they're sweet. They're shine.
Nice.
Good. Oh, I'm happy. I'm very happy. I have a Polish and German translator tonight.
Call them tomorrow morning or
Yes.
anytime?
Yes, they will go ahead. But we are not to give them this to translate yet.
The following lecture was delivered on November 17, 1959 in Los Angeles, California, and introduced by Dr. Hitler.
His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is out in the world from India, from the sacred area of the Himalayas Mountains, to bring to the world a simple method of meditation, a method that allows people, even of the West, to rapidly transcend the relative experience of daily life and dive into the omnipresent reality that is the substratum of all life. That is a venture, a goal that people from time immemorial have devoted their attention, their time, and their energy to. And traditionally, it's a long, and difficult task. Maharishi brings to us something new, something suited to the modern age, in that this task, which is considered to be so long and so difficult, in the tradition of the world, Maharishi holds, is direct and simple and can be traversed almost immediately. The details of deep meditation, that is, the actual techniques, the method used, is best imparted to people individually, just as the physician imparts the prescription to his patient. Likewise, the specific technique of meditation must be imparted individually, and those persons who might like to learn the method of deep meditation may, if they wish, make an appointment with the Secretary, Mrs. Lutz, to speak with Maharishi on that topic. The members of the audience are invited to request topics for discussion. That is, it's customary to have the first part of the meeting dealt with on a specific topic, and the rest of the meeting then thrown open for questions. So if the audience has a topic that they would like discussed, then they are invited to write out those topics and give them either to myself or to Mrs. Lewis or to one of the other trustees. Perhaps for tonight, since we just made this particular type of announcement, and perhaps we will have some suggested topics for tomorrow night, perhaps we might ask Maharishi tonight to speak on the various paths across this pathless area to the transcendental. There must be many disciplines, many paths, many yogas, many important, in many ways that people throughout the ages have felt to be important ways to self-realization. And perhaps Maharishi could tell us what these ways are and then tie the whole thing together with his method of meditation.
Various ways of realization. Certainly, if the realization is to be the realization of the omnipresent, then it could be through any means, through any method, through any way, because if it has to be a wayless way, a pathless path, then it could start from any point to end at the same point. If it has to be a wayless way, and the realization of the omnipresent, that which is omnipresent, that which is the truth of everything. Truth of everything means the essential, ultimate constituent of everything. That which is the essential, ultimate constituent of everything. If that has to be realized, then, as a matter of fact, it is already realized, because the omnipresent, the essential constituent of everything is there in everything already. The experiencer. The essential nature of the experiencer is the experiencer himself, and to realize himself should be as easy, as a matter of fact, easier than anything easiest in the world. Because realization of one's own self, which is one's own self, not separate, not apart, not at distance from his own self, that should be the natural, all-time state of being of everyone. That should be natural, all-time state of being of everyone. It should not be left to realize, already realized. Everyone knows I am. Nobody says I am lost or I am lost. So it is the realization of the omnipresent, is the realization of one's own self, and to realize one's own self, it should not be a long path or a long distance or anything which would take strenuous practice or long time. It is nearer than the nearest to everyone, every experiencer, and therefore it is said to be a pathless path. The specks are there on the eyes, and they begin to see where are the specks. Seeing through these specks, the search of these specks begins. And the fact remains that the moment you begin to search the specks, that is the moment when we lose the specks. We don't lose them, but only the connection with it is lost as if. So it's not that the divine has gone anywhere and that has to be brought. It's not that the God has to be brought somewhere, or it's not that God is there in the seventh heaven and we have to reach it, and to reach it we must die because we are on earth, then the God is there on the seventh heaven. All this is childish. The kingdom of God is within me. This has been the declaration from times immemorial, and that which is within me is my own self, the subtlest aspect of my own personality. That is my own self. To realize that, nothing is necessary. You begin to experience it. That's all. So it's a wayless way. That's why it is called a wayless way, a pathless path. There is no distance between the experiencer and the experienced. It's just there and then. So I said, if it is a pathless path, then it could start from any point to end at the same point. It could start. And if it could start from any point, innumerable may be the points of start, because the point of start and the point of reach is just there, the same point is there. Now, even then the talk goes on of the ways of methods of realization. Any tendency of man could be taken to be a part of realization. Mainly the tendencies are of innumerable. All the tendencies may be divided into 5 parts. Objects of senses. Someone likes to see better than hearing, better than taste. Someone has a more taste for tasting. So, the touching or hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, all these are the ways of experience. So, through any of these ways could be experienced the essential nature of experiencer himself. Through the ways the outsider experience, the same way inverted, the same way attention drawn inwards, and the experiencer will be experienced. So there could be as many ways of experiencing the divine nature. There could be as many ways of realization as there may be ways of experiencing the thing in the world. If we see the glass, this method of seeing the glass could be the method of realizing the bliss, only the same direction inward. Just in the experiencing the glass, and then begin to experience the glass inwards, and begin to experience the subtle phases of the glass, and begin to experience the subtlest phase of the glass, and eventually begin to experience the transcendent divine bliss. Any path which takes the experiencer outside, turned over, and will take the experiencer to his own self. Outside and the same direction inward. Anyway. This is the general thesis of self-realization. Anyway a man could realize, because the beginning point of the path and the end point of the path is just the same. There is absolutely no difference. When we say the beginning of the path and when we say the end of the path, let us analyze this statement. Seeing the flower. One end of the flower, one end of the process of seeing is that object. The other end of seeing the process is the subject within. The subject within, the self within, is the one end of the flower. Because the flower grows, has its impression on the mind impression. And what is the source of the mind? The transcendent. Transcendent is one end of the mind. Flower is the other end of the mind. This is the path of experience. The path of experience is at the one end of the path stands the experiencer. At the other end of the path, experience is the object of experience. This is the way. This way of experiencing the flower is just the way. The way means just the line, the path, the process of seeing, this path which connects the experiencer. Now the eyes stand somewhere in the middle between the flower and between the experiencer within. And the line that connects the experiencer to the eyes, to the flower, that is the path of realization. Realization, here is the realization of the flower. Turn backwards will be the realization of the self. No great fuss about the path of realization. No, absolutely doesn't seem to be any great intricacies for realization. The experiencer is there and the thing being experienced and the process connecting the two is there. What other method of realization we need? No one needs any other method of realization. The path of realization will be just that experience of the flower. Now what happens? Experiencing the flower, when the flower makes a full flower, reflection of the flower, image of the flower, completely grips the mind. Then the flower alone remains and the experiencer is lost. Experiencer is lost in the experience. The flower overtaking the mind and the flower alone remains and I am lost. The experiencer is lost in the experience. What is necessary? That the experienced should be lost in the experiencer and the experiencer alone will remain, and that will be the realization of the experiencer. Just invert the process. One way, when we are outside experiencing the flower, then the flower seems to have a complete full grip of the mind. Experiencer is lost, only the experienced remains. The beauty of the flower, and it's so much captivated that only the beauty of the flower remains. The experiencer is lost. If just we turn the process, let the experienced be lost in the experiencer, and the experiencer alone will remain, and then the experiencer will be found, will not be lost. Now, when the experiencer is lost, then also the point of start is from the experiencer. The point of start of the process of seeing is always from the experiencer. Experiencer begins to see and then it is lost in the sight. What is then necessary? Let the sight be so adjusted that the sight will be lost in the experiencer and experiencer alone will remain to shine in its own self-effulgent glory, and that will be self-awareness, self-consciousness. That will be consciousness alone. Otherwise, the consciousness has been infringed upon. The consciousness has been reflected upon by the flower, and then the consciousness has become this flower, red flower, and only the red flower is under the experience, and red flower alone exists, and the consciousness is not in its pure, serene, essential, colorless nature. The consciousness is fully colored, it's transformed, as if completely overtaken by the shape, by the beauty, or by the red color, by everything of the flower. Flower alone remains. Now, the process of self-realization will be to invert the process, as I said, so that instead of the experiencer being lost in the experience, the experience should be made to lose its identity in the experiencer, so that the experiencer may shine in its self-effulgent glory. Invert the process. And how do we invert the process? It's very simple. A crystal, pure serene, colorless crystal, affected by this yellow color. This yellow color has completely overtaken this colorless crystal. The colorless crystal is not found in its colorless state. It is found reflected upon by the yellow color. So the colorless state of this flower has been captured by the yellow color of this. How do we get rid of it? Remove it. The reflection of it on the crystal becomes faint and faint and faint and faint and faint. As the reflection becomes faint, yellow color, the influence of the yellow color on the crystal becomes faint. The crystal is found in its purer state. Ultimately, the yellow color has completely gone, and the crystal is left to itself. Crystal is in its full colorless glory. How do we diminish? This is the method of diminishing the outside influence, so that the crystal may remain in its colorless state. How do we diminish the effect, the outside effect of this flower, which has completely overtaken the experiencer? Now we remove this flower. Details of the flower are being lost sight of. Flower being taken far. Details. Gradually, as it is going on, the details are diminishing. Taken far away, it remains just in its essence. Very far, till the eyes are able to see. Till the eyes are able to see the flower, then the eyes fail to see. Then let not the eyes experience, let the memory of the flower, let that faint remains of the flower be reflected upon in the mind, and let the mind see. And then if we know the technique of taking away the flower gradually, so that the impression of the flower on the mind becomes gradually diminished. Ultimately, when the faintest remains of the flower is diminished completely from the mind will be left to itself. The experiencer will be left to it in its self-effulgent glory, in its colorless state, unaffected, pure consciousness, the state of being. The self will be realized. The method is to gradually reduce the impression of the object from the mind. That's all. To gradually reduce the impression of the object from the mind, so that the mind is left to itself and in its pure state of being. This is the realization of the self. Through any method, this is not only true of sight, it's true of smell, same way. drag away the smell, point of smell, and then let the mind also, let the impression of it fade from the mind, ultimately no smell, and the mind is left to itself, the experiencer left to itself in its pure, serene consciousness, this state of being, pure being. Otherwise, the being is reflected upon by all that is being experienced. When the being is reflected upon by the experience, then the experienced is predominant, and the experiencer loses its charge, loses its stand altogether. That takes the full stand. Now, to make the whole process easy, as I said, this is not only true of the flower, this is not only true of the sense of sight, it may be true of the object of any sense. Any object of any sense, only the manner of experiencing inverted, so that the influence of the outside object becomes faint and faint and faint, and the experiencer is left to itself. There is no obstacle to this path of realization, open to all, universal. Universal it is because anything could be the path, any point could be the path, any object of experience could be taken, and the man will realize fully well 100%. There is no obstacle. To realize the universal, to realize the omnipresent, no one path could be assigned universal. Where lies the technique of realization then? The technique of realization lies in reducing the influence of the thought from the mind. We see the mic, we close the eyes, mic is not seen, but the thought of the mic, the imagination of the mic is there, the thought. The thought pattern is there, the thought pattern is occupying the mind. The thought is then predominant, the thought is predominant, and thinker is not found. Thinker is absorbed in the thought. The technique of realization will be reduce the volume of thought, reduce the intensity of thought, reduce the status 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 of thought, till the thought is reduced to nil and the thinker is left to itself, the thinker realizes. Now, it is necessary to reduce the thought. Why? Because closing the eyes, the thought of mind. If we get away from the thought of mind, then the thought of vacancy overtakes the mind. The thought of vacancy, void, that void influences the whole. That void becomes the thought of the thinker, and the thinker is lost in that void. Either in that void, or the thinker will lose the capacity of experience. When we lose the thought of the mind, there may be two possibilities. One may be that the thinker loses the capacity of experience as in deep sleep. Thought evaded. Thinker loses its capacity of experience, goes to sleep. When loses its capacity of experience, then who is there to find the real state of the thinker? Although at that stage the thinker is not subjected by any outside influence. There is no thought, and the thinker should be left in itself. But the thinker is devoid of the capacity of thinking altogether. Activity, devoid of the activity. Devoid of the activity cannot be said to be realization. Goes into nothingness. That is not the essential nature of the thinker, because the thinker has the activity, capacity of action. When the thinker ceases to experience, then it ceases to have that capacity of experience. That is one possibility when we get out of the thought of night. Another possibility is if the thinker is awake. If the thinker is awake and the mic is not there, then the thinker has the void before it. Because the thinker has been cultured or has been in the long habit of thinking and seeing. Subtle fields of thought the thinker has not known. Always in the gross world, and always thinking about the gross thing, always thinking. The thinker has not had a chance to dwell in the subtle fields of thought, to dwell on the subtle phases of creation. Till now, for years together, the practice has been that the thinker is engaged in experiencing, experiencer, or the thinker. Think or the experience. But the subtle field of creation has not been the experience of the thinker. Therefore, if the thought is not reduced to its subtle stages, and if the subtle stages of the thought is not experienced by the thinker, then the capacity of experience does not increase. The capacity of experience does not increase. It is necessary that the thought of the mic should gradually come to nil, not suddenly. That means the thinker should come to the subtle stages of thought. So that the thinking capacity is maintained. The thinking capacity is maintained even when the subtlest state of thought is experienced. Thinking capacity is maintained. Then the thinker finds himself in all activity. Vigilance. Otherwise, the vigilance is lost. In order that the vigilance, the capacity of experience may remain vigilant, it is necessary that we reduce the thought. Reduce the thought till the thought is reduced and come on. Now the thought may be of anything, may be pertaining to the sense of sight, any object or any smell or any sense of touch or any taste, any object of any sense, reduced to the thinking state, and the thought gradually reduced to nil. This is the process of realization. The same, the manner of realizing any object, realizing means experiencing. The manner of experiencing any object of any sense in the outside world is the manner of experiencing the self within, only get within. Invert the process of experiencing. Instead of experiencing outside, where the outside experience only remains and the experiencer is lost in the experience, let the process of experiencing be inwards into the subtle nature, and so that the experience gradually dissolves itself into the experiencer, and the experiencer only remains. This is how the realization is universal. Realization means realization, experience, realization of the flower, realization of the flower in the outside world, realization of the self within in the inward personality. Outside realization, inside realization. The same path of realization of the flower will be, if inverted inward, will be the path of realization of the self. As we experience the outside, so we experience the inside. There is no fuss about it. This is how self-realization becomes universal. Anywhere, from any point, through anything, by anything, from anything. Because, as I said, the point of beginning is the point of end. The point of beginning, the point of... what is the point of beginning of the experience of the flower? The same. The experiencing process begins from the experiencer. Comes here and the flower experienced. From that experience, it has to come to the same point of beginning and the experience of the insight. One way march of the mind. Outward march of the mind is for realization of the objective world. Inward march of the mind is the experience of the experiencer himself. So the point of beginning of the outside experience is the point of the end of inside experience. The point of beginning of the outside experience, this is the outside experience, and the point of beginning of this experience is the point of the experiencer. From here the process of experiencing outside begins. The process of experiencing inward ends here. So that which is the point of experience of that which is the source of the outside experience is the end of the inside experience. The path. So the path of experience, either of outside or of inside, begins from inside and ends in inside. The path of realization of God and the path of realization of the world. Both of those paths begins from one point and come to one point. What is the difference? If you want to experience the world, the point of start has to be the same. If you want to experience God, the point of start is the point of the end. In this manner, experience of the outside should be more difficult than the experience of the inside. Because if the point of start of the outside experience is the goal in itself, then that goal is already realized. That's why it is called a pathless path. There is no path. There is a path, a definite path for realization of everything outside. A path which begins from the experiencer and ends in the outside experience. There is a path for outside experience, but there is no path for the inside experience, because the experiencer is the goal in himself. No path. That's why it's called a pathless path. And any offshoots from that path, from that point of path, any offshoots coming back bring the mind to the self-realization. Bring the mind to self-realization. This is the truth of the paths of realization. The one truth and the big truth of the paths of realization is that there is no path, it's a pathless path. And when it's a pathless path, it could start from any point to end in the same point. The pathless path. Even then, all the different methods of approach have been divided into four parts. And that Maharishi Patanjali has done. Patanjali, the exponent of yoga philosophy. Now the philosophy of yoga is the philosophy of union. Yoga means union. Union of the two into one. Union of the higher self into the union of the lower self with the higher self. Union with man. Union of man with God, or union of God with man. Union, combination. The two separated combine and meet together. All the different ways of union, all the different ways of God realization, of self-realization, divine unfoldment, have been divided into four parts by Maharishi Patanjali, who is the authoritative exponent of the yoga philosophy. One method is Hatha Yoga, another is Mantra Yoga, another is Laya Yoga, another is Raj Yoga. All these are the different four methods, four ways